Welcome to the Fifth Estate. For Canadians, it is still the one great pride, the one great passion, the one great weakness. It moves grown men to tears, cities to adoration, our national newscast to the wee small hours of the morning. It is hockey, and Canada loves it. But somewhere in the place where that passion meets the celebrity and power it generates, something has gone wrong. Last week, there were disturbing allegations in Calgary and Swift Current of the sexual abuse of young players by a coach. And as an extensive investigation by the Fifth Estate has established, there is a great deal more to be disturbed about. We discovered things an adoring public doesn't see: demeaning initiation rites, hazing, physical and sexual abuse in the name of team spirit. And there are the girls, like rock and roll groupies who attach themselves to teenage stars. They think of themselves as puck bunnies. But the players have another term. All of them, players and puck bunnies, boys and girls alike, are skating on very thin ice. And while there are legitimate questions to be asked of the adults charged with their supervision, there are precious few answers forthcoming. Viewers should note, our story includes scenes and language which may be disturbing. A Canadian winter doesn't offer a lot to look forward to unless you're into hockey. If you live in Sault Ste. Marie, you have the Greyhounds of the Ontario Hockey League, and every winter you can look forward to the very real possibility that a bunch of teenagers like these will once again lead the Sioux and you to glory. On average, 4,000 fans turn out for every game, a caliber of hockey that for sheer energy is on a par with the NHL. Each player knows that every goal could put him a little closer to fame and fortune. For the fan, every game is itself a payoff, a few hours escape from the dark and dreary Canadian winter.
It's critical. I think it's part of what the culture of this town is all about.
Don't have anything else when you're this far from Toronto and Detroit.
If you look outside, there's a lot of snow out there. You got to do something to keep busy. Hockey's a great way to do it.
It's hard to believe that a team as adored as the Greyhounds would need a public relations man, but they have one anyway. His name is Dave Harris.
I would put hockey right up there as almost a religion in the Sioux. There's very few places in the city that you can go that you can't talk about the Sioux Greyhounds or hockey in general, but the Sioux Greyhounds are the #1 team. You know, people talk about the NHL and the former Sioux kids that have come through and gone to the pros, but the Sioux Greyhounds are big.
They're very big and constantly exposed to public adoration, and therein lies a paradox. In the high-pressure world of elite sports, people are beginning to recognize that too much adoration can warp a young personality. Too much celebrity can lead to vanity, and worse.
Just look at them, like, look around, like, they're like so solid.
Notice how all the girls flock to them?
Yeah, like
everyone knows them in the Sioux.
Yeah.
They're like real popular.
One of the most adored Greyhounds in recent memory was a local boy named Jarrett Reed. But in December 1993, there was a mighty challenge to the faith of the Greyhound fan. Jarrett Reed, 20, was ordered to stand trial on 21 charges, including sexual assault, involving 2 local women. He'd been the hero of the Sioux for years, all through minor hockey. At the 1990 Major Junior Draft, it seemed only natural he'd go to the hometown team, the Greyhounds.
I would like to thank Mr. Basson and the Greyhound organization for giving me the opportunity to further my hockey career and development in my hometown, in front of my family and friends.
The story unfolded slowly, offering a rare glimpse into a sordid slice of real life, the life of a youthful celebrity, whose offenses covered a period of more than 2 years, beginning when he was only 18. But as the episode played out, Reed continued playing hockey, and playing well. 1993, with criminal charges hanging over the heads of their star, the Greyhounds won the Memorial Cup, to the great delight of the local fans.
I think that a lot of people in Sault Ste. Marie didn't believe it. perhaps didn't take it seriously. It certainly didn't seem to have any effect on the amount of enthusiasm they had for the game or even for the particular player.
When sexual assault counsellor Bryna Koppel-Parks first heard the complaints against Jarrett Reid, she expected public shock, maybe even outrage. But she was in for a surprise.
After the charges were laid, he was at Canadian Tire signing his autograph on hockey sticks. His picture was in the paper. People cheered for him. I mean, people, you know, just really, I think, treated him differently than many other alleged perpetrators are treated.
Then last fall it was over. On the charge laid by one of the women, he was not guilty. In the second case, he pled guilty to 8 charges. 12 were dropped. He got a 9-month jail sentence, served part of it, now plays hockey at a university in Nova Scotia. Even after his guilty plea, fans in the Sioux were philosophical.
I don't think it has anything to do with hockey. I don't think it has anything to do with the Greyhound organization. I think it's an isolated incident. People can make out of it what they want.
I guess it's received a lot of publicity, but a lot of, I mean, we hear one side of the story. We don't hear Jarrett Reid's side of the story.
You know, these things happen probably in many cities across Canada and in the U.S. And it just so happened that there was a lot of publicity in this particular situation. This happened to be in Sault Ste. Marie this time.
There have been a lot of isolated incidents in the hockey world in recent years. Since 1989, more than 20 players and officials have been investigated on sexual assault allegations. In most cases, the police or the courts have either dropped charges or acquitted the accused. But the proceedings have provided some disturbing new insights into the high-performance world of hockey and raised some troubling questions about the private and often raunchy culture of the locker room. Scott McLeod was no stranger to locker rooms, playing minor hockey through childhood and into his teens, improving as he grew. Like most young players, he was aware that there are fabulous rewards for excellence. But for him and his family, it was a game. His father, Paul McLeod.
When he was younger, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's always been a lot of fun going to the arena and watching him play.
Just before his 16th birthday, he tried out for the Junior C team in Tilbury near Chatham, Ontario.
Well, I grew up in Tilbury and I played all my minor hockey there, and you know, I would have liked to play in my hometown. So it was a good feeling.
He made the team, the Tilbury Hawks, but he soon discovered that he couldn't be considered a real Hawk until he'd been through an initiation party.
I can remember the coach saying that, well, he's going to get to know us better, and you know, we're going to have some fun, and you know, I thought it'd just be a good time. I get to know more of the players, more better, and you know.
You're 15 at the time.
Yeah.
What's a good time mean to a 15-year-old
hockey player? Just to get around, you know, meet the players, you know, play cards, or you know, just stuff like that. Watch TV or something.
He said that they'd be staying there overnight because they didn't want anybody driving home that was drinking. And my kind of assumption about that was I knew there were some older players there, and I kind of figured that's sort of what it was about. I didn't really give it a second thought. I know when I came home with my wife, we felt pretty good about it. You know, like it was a pretty reassuring meeting.
It was my first experience ever drinking.
Scott never had alcohol before, but his first few drinks would leave a lasting impression.
They played this little game of the funnel game, I think it was, where you know they pour beers in and you'd have to funnel it down your throat. And I mean, after that, I was pretty much wasted.
The party was here, the home of a prominent doctor who was one of the team owners. Scott was shocked by what went on, more so because there were adults present.
Well, they brought two boys in at once and then made them strip, and then all the coaches and managers and that are there with a lot of the veteran players, and there are 2 beer cups lying and about probably 10-15 feet away from them, and they told us to do push-ups with our genital to go in the beer cup. the captain took a marshmallow. I remember he had rubber gloves on, and he'd insert it into the player's rectum. And the player would have to, well, squat over a cup and try and get it into that cup. And if the player missed, he'd have to eat it. Out in the room, there was like a bucket with a string attached to it hanging over a chair with 2 hockey sticks in between. And they'd make the rookie tie the string to his penis, and then a lot of the coaches, veterans and that, they'd all throw pucks in the pail.
So the pail was hanging on the end of the string?
Yeah.
And they're throwing pucks in the pail?
Yeah.
A little weird.
Yeah. The worst part, like, what I saw was the trainer there sitting on one of the other rookies' face. And that just is disgusting.
With nothing on?
With nothing on.
So, you're wasted, so this is obviously like some kind of a bad dream going on around you.
Yeah, I think too, like, I was 15 years old and I wanted to play hockey really bad, and to be honest with you, I don't think I really knew any better. I mean, looking at all the coaches and the managers in there while they were doing these things, they were on such a high. Like, the atmosphere was like, well, now you're a Hawk, you know, you're baptized into a Hawk.
At some point late that night, Scott and 2 other rookies sneaked away from the party. They climbed into a pickup truck and headed for home. He walked the last few miles, sick, sober, and scared.
I think reality started to hit, like what happened there. At that point, I was starting to sober up, and you know, I didn't want to call my parents or nothing, because to be honest, I was ashamed of even face them.
Eventually, he told his father.
Initially, I felt like sick, you know, it made me sick. And, you know, then the next feeling I had was I felt really bad for him. And then the next after that, it was anger. I was angry.
Paul McLeod complained to a league official. The response? Scott would have to get used to initiations if he was serious about a future in hockey. Chatham police took a different view. After an investigation, they laid 135 sex-related charges against 12 people. But in the end, there were only 2 convictions. Most of the young hockey players turning out for a major junior draft have heard about initiation rituals. Many have already experienced them. For almost everybody here, hazing is a price you might well have to pay for a shot at the big time. And for young men like Judd Richards, drafted to the Sioux Greyhounds when he was 17, initiation rites are part of a necessary transition to a new town, a new family, and a new life.
It's your new family. I mean, you say goodbye to your old family when you leave to go to your team, and then that's your new family once you get there.
The new family home is a strange place, noisy and smelly, populated by people who arrive as strangers but who must overnight bond as brothers. Each young life could be shaped in the next few months by their effectiveness as a team.
Your teammates are all what you have. I mean, you don't have anything else. And what it does is it gets you bonded with each other quicker than any other method. I mean, you're there for 6, 7 months of the year. I mean, you have to start off, as you have to be gelled as one.
In his first season, Judd was gelled as one 3 times, from the Sioux to North Bay to Oshawa. But it was at the Sioux the gelling meant initiation.
It would involve nudity and just being with the boys, I guess. That's all I can say.
Hard to talk about this.
It is hard to talk about.
Why is it hard to talk about it?
It is hard to talk about, but it's easy to do. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is.
Maybe it's because when you did it with family.
Yeah.
And you're talking about it with a bunch of strangers.
Yeah. I mean, you do it with, it's true, you do it with people that have already done it. You're doing it with other players. You're all experiencing it at once.
Take me through that initiation party at the Sioux.
It was a hotel that we had booked, and we got there and the veterans were already waiting for us, and basically what we did was we took off all our clothes because they get pretty well messy with the activities that we were doing, and basically we just drank. They
Drank naked.
Yeah, basically.
What were you drinking? There was a big bowl going around, I understand. Tell me about that.
Well, there was a bowl that went around, and it was there was a number of stuff in it, different alcohols, different substances. I'm not totally sure.
What kind of substances?
I have no idea. Probably, I imagine things like gross things. I'm not sure exactly what. Possibly spit and maybe urine. I'm not sure.
It can be as innocent as having to load gear, or as degrading as anal and genital games, or as dangerous as extreme drinking. Leagues generally forbid hazing with varying degrees of effectiveness. But all teams seem to tolerate at least some dubious practices in the name of team building, like the sweatbox.
On every team, I think, in the OHL or anywhere, there is one basically set initiation. I mean, it's when everyone's naked and they pile you into the little bathroom at the back of the bus. And we ended up getting, I think, about 8 people in there. Basically, everyone was just in there. We were sweating buckets. And there was one particular player on my team that was claustrophobic. And we didn't know that until we got in there. And we were trying to make room for him because, he told us. But I guess he felt sort of sick, and he ended up puking all over me. So that was one of my most negative experiences with initiation, because I had to sit and puke for approximately 4 hours on the way home.
Is hockey worth all that?
I guess so. I think it is. Looking back, I think it was a fun time, but at the time when I was sitting in puke, I don't think it was too pleasant. I was a bit pissed off, but other than that.
The paramount concern of the team is winning hockey games, which requires a strong team spirit, to which end rules are often bent.
When you were going through your rookie year, we understand that there were rules against it when it was happening to you.
Teams say that there's rules, but there's not. I mean, it's very hard to limit the things that players do. I guess the only thing that they could do is, enforce penalties or a thing, but I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, if their top player is sniping 50 goals and doing initiations, I don't think that, to tell you the truth, that they're going to say, okay, you're suspended for a week. I mean, that's just
not likely.
Not likely at all.
Well, the upside of taking part in this kind of hazing is that the veterans will love you as a rookie. The downside, if you don't take part in what they tell you to do, it can result in getting in fights with the veterans, basically just quitting hockey.
Rob Boyko considers himself lucky among hockey players. Playing on 4 major junior teams, he avoided the worst initiation rituals. But last year, when he moved to the University of Guelph and joined the hockey team there, he ran smack into an initiation, and team veterans were preparing him for a bad one.
You expected more off these guys?
I expected them being that age and being in a situation in university for 4 or 5 years, some of them, that they just do basic drinking and, normal things. But I was a little surprised with what they wanted to do.
Like?
Basically, like putting marshmallows.
Yeah. Where the sun don't shine.
Yeah, where the sun don't shine, and you have to eat them.
You were told to bring condoms.
Told to bring condoms, yes. And that, when they say that to myself, who knows what to expect, whether it be a girl. I heard stories of a cat being there.
A cat?
Which is a cat. Which is disturbing to me, like that's sickening.
Boyko was also told to bring booze, but on the night of the party, he showed up empty-handed and late. The consequences followed quickly.
That day when I showed up to the party, when I got in an argument with one of the leaders, I heard a bunch of the guys in the background saying, "Oh, just forget about it. We're throwing your equipment outside. It's over. You're done. Don't even bother showing up. Don't show up to practice." So there was a practice the next day. I didn't show up, and I had a meeting with the coach. He basically said I was suspended for missing that practice. And I went off the handle and just told him, look, I didn't want to partake in this. And it's wrong what went on. It shouldn't have happened. And I should not be suspended for missing a practice because of what your captains have told me to do.
The dispute soon landed on the desk of Guelph's Associate Vice President of Student Affairs, Brian Sullivan. He started an immediate investigation.
As soon as I received any information about the event, I went and immediately talked with those who were supposed to be involved. And we established that yes, there was a rookie initiation. Yes, there was some alcohol involved. Yes, it occurred on campus. And yes, there was some hazing. And the men's varsity hockey team and any other intercollegiate team know that that's against department policy and against university policy.
In the account we got, they were alarmed about hard drinking and sex games. What were you able specifically to ascertain that went on in that respect?
That there was some drinking and that there were no sex games. Part of hazing, of course, involves some mind games ahead of time. And understandably, a couple of players were feeling a bit anxious or threatened about some of the stories that had been told ahead of time. Those things and those tales didn't come to pass, but in any event, that's what went on, and we're not very pleased about it.
No condoms and no cats.
No condoms, no cats.
Boyko was vindicated, the team punished, but that's cold comfort today. Rob Boyko remained off the team, eventually left university. He's hoping he still has some kind of a hockey future, maybe playing in Europe. But wherever he goes, the shadow of hazing will hang ominously over him.
I think what it illustrates is that one of the other problems with these kinds of traditional initiations is that the dynamics of the initiation itself are very uncertain. And what can occur as a result of the initiation is exactly the opposite of the upbuilding of team dynamics that you hope for. It's a very, very risky way, I think, to undertake that objective.
Ken Dryden had a great hockey career. He was an outstanding goalie with the Montreal Canadiens. But the whole experience was darkened by one secret terror, hazing, an ordeal he avoided when he went to the NHL only because he was drafted late in the season.
I was always afraid it was going to happen. I was always sure that when that next year came around and the voices in the dressing room would start to gather and start to say, I think we should get, that my name would come up. And I would sit in my place in that room and I would just cringe.
What did you think was going to happen if you did submit?
I always thought of it as an immense risk. If I go through the other side of it, I'm going to feel so humiliated by it that I can't take it. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave.
Leave hockey?
I'll leave hockey. I will need to be traded, something like that.
He says the hazing in the NHL was relatively tame compared to what we've been hearing about, but that didn't reduce his opposition to it.
At a certain point, it's abuse. I mean, it's assault. It's abuse. It is straight humiliation. It is taking ritual and tradition as license, and to do things that you would never do to anybody else, anywhere, any time else in your life. And that's just simply not right.
We've heard dozens of stories, both on and off camera, about degrading and traumatic hazing practices at all levels of hockey. And we've heard about a lot of juvenile silliness, dubiously dignified in the name of the team spirit. But it's all designed to attack the individuality of the newcomer for the good of the group. And that can wipe out a lot of the values and the inhibitions that the individual learned before coming to the team, from his parents and from the wider community. They are, after all, still teenagers and still growing, being shaped in the hands of coaches and managers and team owners, and by the influence they have on each other, which for a few can mean an accelerated trip towards trouble.
Basically, yes, I've met a lot of people in the OHL, a lot of players that really don't have their heads on right because they've been drafted at such an early age and really don't really have parental guidance. Once you're drafted to the OHL, it's over. The parental guidance is over. You live on your own, basically. Nobody tells you what to do. And I think this freedom gets to some of the players, and all the girls that are just swarming after the games waiting for the guys. It gets to their head, and with the drinking involved and the influence from the other players, it gets out of hand sometimes.
The rookies always come in really shy, really quiet, and then once the veterans get a hold of them and they have their initiations, and that's it. It's just like, it's a total different person. It's not the same one.
Val Ridley was only 17 when we met her, older and wiser than her years, the last 3 of which had been spent around hockey players. She understands a phenomenon that's familiar wherever there's celebrity and glamour, the groupie, or in hockey, a puck bunny.
This is Jason McMillan, who I've dated for 9.5 months. And it says, "To Val, the love of my life, Jason McMillan, number 17, I love you."
What is it about hockey that makes guys so sexy?
I don't know. I think that a lot of it has to do with popularity. I think the fascination of the sport and being able to go and say, yeah, that's who I'm with, number 21. You know, I think it makes a difference. The way I've heard a lot of the guys say it is, girls date us because it's a way of getting out of Peterborough. So, like if they make the NHL, wow, my boyfriend's in the NHL. Now he's making big money.
So a lot of these guys think they're going to make it to the NHL.
Oh, all of them are confident. All of them. Anyone I've ever talked to is so confident, I'm going to make it.
And so all these girls
figure, oh, if they're going to make it, this is my ticket out. Wow, I could move to Boston. Wow, I could move to Toronto. I could move to Florida. Like, it is a good ticket out.
Hockey gave these guys their tickets out of small and large communities all over the country. Fans like Val Ridley share their dream that the journey will end with a fat contract and a position on a team in the National Hockey League. The statistical likelihood that they'll make it is minute, but to be this close to the ultimate hockey achievement is a dazzling reality to the impressionable young and a real danger to the vulnerable.
Like, they hang out after the games or sometimes after practice or whatnot. They meet you wherever. You see them at bars. You see them everywhere, really.
Well, what's the difference between a puck bunny and a fan?
And a fan?
Yeah.
A puck bunny, I guess, would be one that would continually have sexual activities with a number of players, basically, not just one set player.
What do you know about these girls? Now, are these girls usually they call them puck bunnies, you know, the girls that hang out?
Puck bunnies is the general term, but in the public, but as an OHL term, as a player, they're just called dirties.
Dirties?
Dirties, yeah. And usually every OHL town, city, has a well-known dirty, or if not 2, 3, maybe more, that everybody just knows their name just from stories.
Now, I hear some really unflattering things about puck bunnies. You talk to these hockey players, and they call them dirties.
Dirties, yeah.
And they take a lot for granted when they're talking about a young woman or a girl or whatever who happens to fit the classification puck bunny. How much truth is there in this?
There's a lot of truth. A lot of it is the way the girls present themselves. If they're going to present themselves, like, as in, like, barely wearing any clothes, I think that the guy has any right to say, you know, this girl's a dirty. If you're going to present yourself the way that they're going to see it, then they're obviously going to think, oh, I could take her, and they make more bets. Like, they have a list that they have. A list.
A list of what?
A list of puck bunnies. This is a list of who they score with, of girls, and it's kept in the dressing room, and it's on the end of their shelf. I've actually seen the list because I was really mad because I'd heard, like, oh yeah, we're adding new names to the list, and I was like, well, I better not be on it. I was dating at the time. I was like, well, I better not be on it.
And she wasn't. But it revealed painfully the reality of how the hockey world views the puck bunny, who seems to be as promiscuous as the hockey player.
For a guy, when, you know, they've slept with this girl, it's a big thing. For the girls, she's called tramp or everything. it's totally different because the guys, like, they just keep adding to their list, and it's just a big thing for them to keep adding to the list.
And it doesn't seem to be very difficult to add to the list, even though many young women know that the mix of music and booze, celebrity and hormones has proven tragic for many like them.
Some of these guys believe that it's part of the code of
To share.
the team to share their girlfriends.
And it definitely is. It definitely is. With these guys, it's like a team thing. They play as team players. If you're not a team player, then you're just not it. You're not their choice. And they always, that's a big thing. When they meet a girl, it's, are you a team player? And I've been asked, and I'll say, team player is to an extent. Like,
But
when it comes to doing, like, sex with different ones, that's just not classified. Really, you see them come on to girls, and girls will say, you know, like, no, I don't like you. When they say, well, you have to. I play for the whatever team they play for. You have to like me. And a lot of girls will turn them down, and they just don't. A lot of them will say, no, it's not good enough. And I mean, that's just how it is with them.
How often would you say these girls get in over their heads, they lose control of what's happening to them, and become really unwilling participants?
I feel every time it happens, it goes a little further than they expected it to. Let's say if they liked one person on the team, they call that person. For some reason, there's always going to be a few other players that are there at the time, and I've really never witnessed it personally, but I feel that the girls possibly just wanted to be with one of the guys, and the guy brings a few other people, and she probably didn't want to do that, and it results in some of the stories that are heard.
Rape?
Rape as being one, yes.
Gang sex?
Gang sex. Mm-hmm.
A lot of pretty heavy stuff for a young guy.
Oh, yes.
Windsor, February 1995. Spitfire star Ed Jovanovski, along with teammates Corey Evans and team captain Bill Bowler, are charged with sexually assaulting a Windsor woman at a private party. Charges later dropped. Jovanovski is now a star in the NHL. Saskatoon, January 1995. A 16-year-old complains to police she was sexually assaulted by players with the Saskatoon Blades during a party. Police investigated but didn't lay charges. Guelph, March 1992. 3 players from the Guelph Storm Major Junior team, Michael Cote, Kevin Reed, and a young offender, charged with sexual assault during a party. Charges later dropped. Swift Current, 1989. 2 players with the Swift Current Broncos, Wade Smith and Brian Sakic, are charged with sexually assaulting a 15-year-old. Charges are eventually stayed. You'll note that most of the charges we've discussed end up in acquittals or dropped, which means that in the eyes of the law, circumstances surrounding the alleged offenses were made ambiguous by many factors. Memories clouded by alcohol or the passage of time, or frequently the implied or assumed consent of the complainant at the time. In a valued tradition of justice, where there's doubt, charges are dismissed. But scars remain for young hockey players and young women. Chatham, Ontario, July 1991. A 15-year-old is allegedly raped by a local hockey star and his friend. Almost 2 years later, the player, Brian Wiseman, and the friend, a fitness instructor named Corey Beausejour, are charged. After a week-long trial in February this year, they're acquitted. Ashley Millis is unusual among the women we've talked to, in that she's agreed to discuss her case publicly. Listening to her story, we must remember that a jury didn't believe what she says happened to her on a summer night in 1991. She was 15 at the time, a competitive runner, a typical Chatham teenager except for one thing. She had no interest in hockey or hockey players.
I was doing really well in my running and had planned eventually to try and get a scholarship for my running.
A lot of young women we meet really admire these guys, want to be with them to sort of share in the kind of glory that they represent?
I wasn't after glory because in my own little world, I had my own. You know, like I had been in the paper for running, for, you know, winning 3 years in a row Kent County cross-country races and track, and, you know, never been done by a girl to win 3 in a row. You know, like and to me, that was glory enough. You know, everybody knew Ashley, the runner, you know, so.
One night, a friend she was staying with suggested going to a party at this house. One of the people at the party was Brian Wiseman.
I'd heard of him because, you know, Chatham's very small, and, you know, he was, I don't know, this great hockey player or whatever, but, you know, never been to that arena to watch a hockey game in my life, so didn't care, so.
Most everybody else in Chatham knew Brian Wiseman. He was a hometown legend at 19, already spotted by a team in the NHL. The Junior B Chatham Micmacs even retired his number when he went on to the University of Michigan on a hockey scholarship. Ashley Millis met Wiseman for the first time at the party in 1991. She says he suggested they play a game of strip pool.
I was like, what? You know, moved around the pool table and laughed it off, and I mean, what was I supposed to say?
She fell asleep during the party. Later that night, according to her testimony in court, Wiseman appeared, carried her to a laundry room, and raped her on the floor, joined in the assault by his friend.
The one defendant made me perform fellatio. While the other one had vaginal sex with me. Sorry. The one guy flipped me over physically. And sodomized me. While the other one was telling him to hurry up. And then eventually, after that, it was over. But it's still not over, you know? Like, even though it's not physically taking place, it's still happening, you know?
Four and a half years later, accused and accuser met in court. Brian Wiseman and Corey Beausejour never testified. The defense focused on the credibility of the accuser and whether she'd consented to sex. After deliberating for 9 hours, the jury verdict was not guilty.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the west end of the ice surface and welcome your 1995-96 Chicago Wolves!
Vindicated, Brian Wiseman went back to the business of playing hockey for the Chicago Wolves of the International Hockey League, where he's a team leader and a celebrity among the fans. We caught up with him after the trial, signing autographs in a bar, part of a team promotion for a beer company. He was friendly, but couldn't talk about the case. Ashley Millis has launched a $1 million civil lawsuit against him and Beausejour. Today, she believes she was let down badly by a community infatuated with hockey and hockey players.
If you don't like hockey, if you don't participate in hockey, if you're not someone who's related to someone who plays hockey, don't even try living there. They want to see about the hockey player. They want to see the good stuff. Like, it's like watching the movie. They want to get to the good part, and, you know, and they don't care about anything that goes along with it.
It's difficult to believe that there is a dark and secret side to the hockey culture. it is so close to the center of Canadian life. It's a game that offers something for everybody: escape from a dreary winter night, fantasies of liberation from the tedium of daily routine. But even a hockey legend like Ken Dryden believes there is a problem, a malaise that corrupts a lot more than hockey players.
Somebody who's a star at 23 was a star at 7, was a star at 10 and 12 and 14, and every year along their path up to 23. I mean, you have the sense about yourself that you can do whatever it is you want to do whenever you want to do it, and there are no consequences. You will get out of the consequences yourself, or somebody else will get out of those, will get you out of them. You want to understand that 22-year-old hockey player, understand the 35-year-old rock star, understand the 50-year-old politician or the 50-year-old businessman. The same thing, that same sense of impunity. Any problem I've got a whole company of fixers here.
The consequences for wayward hockey players may not be unique in the world of celebrity, but unlike the politicians and the business people and most rock stars, they are barely out of childhood. For many in hockey, on the fringes or in the center of it, the issue boils down to the same fundamentals that concern any parent of any teenager: discipline, rules, control.
I don't think there's any control. I think that what they do, and if they want to do it, they do it. Nothing stops them. There's no supervision. The billets don't have control. The coaches definitely do not have control.
Responsibility for supervision is shared in a hierarchy of coaches and managers, team owners and surrogate parents under the umbrella of the Canadian Hockey League. David Branch is head of the Canadian and Ontario Hockey Leagues. We made repeated and ultimately unsuccessful requests for an interview about league policies on hazing initiation and sexual assault allegations. We approached many rinks in Ontario and Saskatchewan where many of the hazing and assault allegations have surfaced. The response to our inquiries was fairly uniform. Windsor, problems have been dealt with. No further comment. Guelph, we've had some problems. Everything is under control. No further comment. And in Sault Ste. Marie, where there was a high-profile sexual assault conviction, Public Relations Director Dave Harris talked freely about the team everyone loves to love.
What's the problem?
But later, the mood changed.
Are you with the state? Yes. I just want to know. Come straight down the door, take your camera, and get out of the building. Now. What's the problem?
Rob Boyko spends a lot of time skating alone these days, forced out of university hockey because of one aspect of hockey culture he couldn't accept.
What would it take? What would it take to sort of clean that up?
I feel it would take the coach, the owners, everybody involved at the team to just sit down and explain to the players it's wrong. Just basically pound some maturity into their heads. Even though they're 16, 17, you have to know the difference between right and wrong.
What that person in politics needs, what the business person needs, what the kids need, is just somebody else that is willing to say no. And that's all anybody needs. And of course, the danger is that people in those positions don't want no-sayers around them. And people around them don't think that they have the right to be the no-sayer. Well, as the parent, you certainly do. As the coach, you certainly do. As somebody, as a citizen in a society, you certainly do.
When it came down to the crunch for Scott McLeod at the age of 16, he said no for himself, and he paid a big price for it. But in the end, he learned a lesson that will last a lifetime.
I mean, when you put things in perspective, things start to get really simple. and it's easier to make up your mind and make decisions.
And what was the simple perspective on that?
Basically just the moral of, you know,
it was wrong.
It was wrong, and, you know, go fight it.